more. And of course, get your prescriptions filled by a friendly and professional pharmacist. People's Pharmacy. Come in today and let us serve you.
Thank you very much there, Kamal. Good night to everybody. What a wonderful Wednesday. Wednesday at 8 p.m. Oh gosh, put your pot on the fire. Your health matters. And it's so important. Your health really, truly matters. This is Dr. Gerald Thompson, your host. And this evening, I have a special guest. He's been here before. We decided to bring him back. I've been doing a little series focusing on conventional health issues. We had diabetes 2 weeks ago. We had pain last week. But this time, I thought that, how I like to mix it up a little bit. And next week is going to be a very special show. I'll talk about it at the end of the program. We have a very special guest going to be coming from the UK, a celebrity, somebody who you'll get to know. And this evening, I want to reintroduce Mr. Dalton Charles, who is from Grenada, you could say, and also from St. Vincent. You could say he's a naturalized Vincentian, as he has a daughter here. Daughters, if you have daughters here, now you're Vincentian. You know what I mean? Daughter, if you have daughters here, you basically are a Vincentian. And essentially, he is the curator of the La Poultry Heritage Park, you could say, which is a Kalinago village that dates back to the 16th century. And we are, going to touch on Carib, Kalinago, Garifuna culture, but we want to focus on something. What kept the Caribs, the Kalinago, healthy? And what activities, what cultural things they did that basically allowed them to remain healthy. There wasn't a formal doctor like Gerald Thompson living there, although my ancestry blood would have been around at that time, Kamal. Can you understand what I'm saying? I know you don't think so, but it would have been. So Dalton, welcome back again to WFM Studios. Welcome back again to St. Vincent. And how are you doing? How is it?
I'm wonderful. Pleasant good night to your listening guests, and I'm very happy that you have me back on this program. I'm doing good.
Yes. Tell us about this La Poultry Kalinago village. Consider St. Vincent. We have Kingston at the bottom.
Yeah.
We have Chateaublair in Georgetown. Grenada, on the other hand, has Guave, Sauteurs up at the top, Grenville over where Georgetown is, and St. George's down where Kingston is. So where is this La Poultry Kalinago village located?
The La Poultry 16th century Kalinago Heritage Village is located in the northeast of Grenada. That is...
we talk about Georgetown, Byra, that sort of thing.
That sort of location.
Identical to what existed here in St. Vincent.
And not just in St. Vincent. I mean, unlike St. Lucia, where you have the indigenous community to the south, most of the other islands are in the exact location. In
Dominica, it's the same.
Yeah, northeast.
Yes.
Location, basically.
Yes. Yes. Now, tell us a little about you. What brought you to this phenomena, this interest, your interest in this area? Before we get into things, why this area of interest?
Strange enough, I was an athlete, and at the time I was at top of my game, but I got injured, and I went back to the community where I was born, which is La Poterie. And I restarted a sports club. And in restarting the sports club, some of the best athletes on the island was in that club.
Yes.
And funny it is, none of them got it a scholarship. You know, and I was really pissed, basically. And only one student out of that group got it a scholarship, which was Alan Francis.
Okay.
And Alan Francis would have went on to be...
I thought you could tell it was Kwabi James or something.
No, that was before James, you know. And well, Alan, same as a 400 runner.
Yeah.
He went on to win the All Indo Championship twice. And in matter of fact, he came fourth in the 2004 Olympics.
Yes.
You know, and but the other athletes that was even better than Alan was denied a scholarship. And immediately I started to look at the community is one of the poorest community in Grenada. So I was questioning what are the causation of that poverty. And my grandmother would have told me that she is a Carib, you know, and I didn't take it at heart, basically. So I started questioning the older folks because she would have passed on. My grandmother died in 86. And I started questioning the older heads in the family and realizing that the story that my grandmother presented to me was actually factual based on the oral history in the family.
Yeah.
And I started from doing the research from there for a number of years, did all the archaeological research, and we did up to 2 archaeological digs in 2016 and 2017. And from there, even the same university that we did the research with, Leiden University, we did that project in Argyle. And matter of fact, Argyle is connected to La Poterie. And La Poterie, the meaning of Argyle and La Poterie is the same, although Argyle in St. Vincent and La Poterie in Grenada is practically means the same in French.
Okay, that's interesting.
And it is not just connected by name. All the artifacts that we would have discovered, those pottery shed that was discovered in Argyle that clay originated from La Poterie.
I see. Okay.
So we have that serious connection basically between. So, and I think it was very important in helping eradicate the poverty in the community to go back to the history.
Yes.
You know, and once you know who you are, where you came from, basically you would understand how powerful you are, and you could use that ability, that heritage to better yourself in the future. So that was the core for me getting involved, you know, and moving into that area basically.
Okay, great. Well, let's dive a little bit into the Caribs. It's said that the Caribs had some unusual dietary habits. There were some foods they ate and some foods they never ate. Yeah. And let me talk, everybody. Consider the Caribs living in an era when there was no international trade. There was no Kentucky Fried Chicken, Kamal. There was no canned foods coming down. There was no Coca-Cola coming down. You know what I mean? They basically relied on what was growing in their island, in their region, and so. And so what were the foods that, first of all, were available here in St. Vincent Grenadines or available in Grenada? And what foods was forbidden? What did they not like and never ate?
Salt is one of the food that was forbidden.
Yes.
Things like turtle, because the concept of the Kalinago or the Carib, they understood the relationship between the plant life and humanity.
Yes.
And the relationship between the microbes and how the microbes play that important role within the system and the plant. So they would have identified plants and the characteristics of those plants. They know that they inherit those characteristics from those plants. So they avoid plants, like they wouldn't eat a turtle.
Yes.
Because they know they would adopt the characteristics of a turtle and become too slow in movement.
Yes.
So the turtle was forbidden.
Yes.
You know, and salt was forbidden.
I want to stop you there because we know today that most of us in the Caribbean have very high salt consumption.
Yeah.
We love salt, some reason or other. And the amount of salt that we eat certainly doesn't help if you have underlying high blood pressure. So we can't say that the Caribs or the Kalinago did not have high blood pressure, but we can say they did not consume a tremendous amount of salt.
Yeah.
And I've told patients, boy, you cut down on your salt. And they've said that, you know, oh gosh, I can't, you know what I mean? But the question is, they did not eat salt, and they didn't eat turtle because of the thinking that the turtle and so forth and tortoise and so forth would have moved too slow.
Yeah.
All right. So what did they eat?
They eat cassava, maize, the yams, the tanya, the edos, you know, those, the arrowroot, the olive sweet vegetable. Well, you had pineapples, you had soursop. They diet a lot of fish, pepper, roku, which is an indigenous spice. You know, so many of those.
You've hit something on it. A lot of people would not realize that soursop, guava, sugar apple are all indigenous to our islands. They've been there from the Caribs to the Arawaks, and that was the food they eat. And cassava, even potatoes, I thought it was sweet potatoes. Do you know, Europe had never seen sweet potatoes before Columbus came. They had never seen cassava before Columbus. They'd never seen pineapple before Columbus. And those things were present here, and all those things, certainly guava. I mean, it's such a wonderful fruit in terms of its fiber content and all this other stuff. You know, I'm amazed at what foods they had available. But what was it? How did they prepare food? I'm curious about that.
What we now call barbecue or roasting. That was one of, they had soups as well, the crabs.
Yes.
They use a lot of crabs. They had the same pepper pot that is famous to Guyana. They use a lot of hot pepper.
Yes, chili pepper.
Chili pepper. The pepper acts also as a preservative.
Yes.
You know? So they eat a lot of the roasted food. The roasting was one of the typical menu. Basically.
Yes. You mentioned it. The Caribs and the Arawaks invented what's known as barbecuing.
Yes.
Kamal, do you realize that? You realize that barbecuing was invented by the Arawaks and the Caribs.
Yeah.
That was the major way they would smoke that stuff, and the heat would slowly cook the fish, the manikou, the guana, the whatever meat they had that was on top of.
You have agouti here in St. Vincent.
Yes.
Although agouti is extinct, and agouti, they had matter of fact, there was a indigenous rabbit as well that they would have used.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that chicken, right, was something that was brought into the region. You know, chicken is not indigenous to our culture, our past culture. Now we can't do without it. Come on. I know, come on, don't take it the wrong way. I saw you in KFC the other day, right? No, I didn't. I only teasing you. You know what I mean?
But in the space of the chicken, they would have used the indigenous ducks.
Yes, and indigenous ducks.
Yeah, and what we call waterfall. In St. Vincent on the mainland, we don't have much mangroves, but in Grenada, in the mangroves and in like Lake River Antoine, there is a migratory duck that comes, I guess, from the North Florida that migrates and pass through those areas.
Yeah,
you know, and it is very prevalent in the area.
Yes, I see them.
Yeah.
But we don't catch them. You know, so in Grenada, do they still catch them or not?
Yes, few people do still catch them. And in the archaeological dig, I was able to discover all those bones that they use. A lot of bones that remain from some of those animals that they use. We rediscovered those bones, so you could classify and actually look at the diet from the remains of those artifacts.
So you okay? There's nothing wrong with birds. Crab was something that one of their Carib favorite foods, and of course fish. They thrived on fishing. Matter of fact, they were quite considered fishermen. Yeah, skilled fishermen folks. Your La Potre village, what does it really portray? What can one find there? What do you highlight?
I highlight the whole lifestyle, the architecture. So I would have the reconstruction of the houses.
Yes.
After we did the archaeological dig in 2016, and in St. Vincent, the houses that was discovered in St. Vincent, they didn't have the outer posts in the architecture and design that Buffon, a French priest that documented his experience in Dominica, and he documented how the houses was designed. In St. Vincent, that archaeological dig didn't identify those outer post structure. We concluded that because of the acidity in the soil, those outer posts would have been erased as a result of the high acidity in the soil. But
the high acidity in which St. Vincent?
Yeah.
I see. Argyle.
But in La Potre, we were able to discover both the inner and outer posts.
I see.
So in the reconstruction, I have a wrong house.
Yes.
It is reconstructed in exact description as Buffon would have described.
Yes.
In exact finding as we would have found in the archaeological dig in 2016.
Yeah.
And what the wrong house is what houses the women. So children up to girls are cultured by women. And the boy, once he become a teenager, he will then go into the communal house where we call it cabet, where all the men live.
Yeah.
And the cabet is a different structure to the wrong houses. So you would find a cabet, you would find a wrong house. You would find all the plants. I have 3 different sections of the different indigenous plants that you can see and relate to. And one of the most important plants in the culture, which is the cohoba.
Yes.
And we thought it was extinct for the last 300-400 years.
Yes.
I would have also rediscovered the plant here in St. Vincent, and to me that was one of the greatest rediscoveries.
It wasn't in Grenada at the time.
No, and matter of fact, the book, Dr. Guido Marcel with Cambridge University, they did a research on all the plants in Grenada.
Yeah.
And they published a book in 98. That book would have also mentioned the non-finding of the cohoba plant. Although the cohoba would have caused the first revolution in Grenada in 1657. And in St. Vincent, the oldest known artifact, cohoba artifact, was discovered here in St. Vincent. And set outside of Haiti and Dominican Republic, St. Vincent is the only place you could go into the museum and see cohoba artifacts.
I see.
And get a tour.
I see.
So
you talk about right at the old library and so.
Yeah, the old library. So and that was the most important plant.
Well, tell me. You mentioned cohoba. Let's spell it.
C-O-H-O-B-E.
Cohoba. C-O-H-O-B-A. They call it other names, right?
Yeah, but that was the indigenous name.
Yeah. What other names they call it?
Well, in South America, they will call it Yopa.
Yopa. Y-O-P-A.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Yopa.
And
there is 2 varieties. So the one that was grown in the Eastern Caribbean is more potent to the one that was grown in the South America region.
Okay, you tell us about this plant. And, you mentioned the word potency.
Yeah.
And you tell about it being banned in Grenada in the 16th century.
Yeah.
What happened? Why and caused a revolt in Grenada?
Yeah.
Why did that happen with this cohoba plant?
in this matter of fact, after Christopher Columbus' first voyage, and they returned to Europe, and the narrative that was presented, it wasn't pleasing to the European. So they would have sent on the second voyage, they would send a guy by the name of Roman Payne. He was also a Catholic priest, and he was the one that was tasked to document the whole history and the narrative of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And so he was the first guy that would have mentioned about the cohoba. And in his documentation, he would have said that the cohoba, which was the main religious plant, and they told him that they used the plant to communicate with God. So the mere fact that using a plant to communicate with God, that plant became #1 blasphemy. And so from since Spain, Payne, with his documentation, the plant was victimized or ostracized from then.
Yeah.
In the case of Grenada, the governor, matter of fact, Lacombe, would have lost his life in La Poterie. He went to La Poterie and in a battle with the Carib, one of the Carib, Chief Baba, stood up in front of him. And he questioned, and that is the French documentation, historical documentation. And he questioned Baba. He said, "You think you is Achilles of the ancient Greece?" And Lacombe says he and 16 of his men aimed at him. They fired upon him. They didn't see no blood, no wound. They fought with him. And they say the battle was like sword, like water falling on leaves. That's how the sword was falling on Chief Baba. And Lacombe described he lost the battle that day. And what he did, he burned down the entire village because Chief Baba would have took the rest of Caribs and took his canoe and disappeared. And
So somehow or the other, the bullets and so forth that they fired against him
didn't penetrate him. They didn't see no blood. He had no wound.
Yes, okay, yeah.
And Lacombe confessed that he lost the battle that day. And he would have burned down the entire village.
Yeah.
When we did the archaeological dig in 2016, all the post holes that we discovered, we saw a widespread fire. So the historical text that was written in the 16th century, in 2016, the archaeological
confirmed
that occurrence.
Yes.
You know, and after Lacombe lost his life, the governor that came in was sort of friendly to the Caribs.
Yes.
And
you sure, or he was tricking them?
He was sort of friendly because they referred to one of the shaman as the greatest sorcerer.
Yeah.
The governor, which was his name was Francois Dubout.
Yeah.
Dubout decided to go, and he told the priest he going to the sorcerer, to use the same cohoba to be turned into the devil. And he went to La Poterie. He took part in the cohoba ceremony. And on his return to St. George's, they actually execute him on the fort, the same fort that they executed Maurice Bishop. On the same October, the 25th of October, he was executed on that fort. So they had a revolution among, the French had a revolution among themselves, executing the then governor, Francois Dubout.
Because he'd gone out and
took part in the cohoba ceremony. In La Poterie.
Yeah.
So that is how, because they had the cohoba as a blasphemy plant.
Yes.
You know, how you could take part in that blasphemy ritual.
What's inside this particular plant? Yes, yeah. And for full disclosure, I have one of these plants, a cohoba at the mangrove. Matter of fact, I've had several attempts at them, haven't done so well, right? And it's been supplied by Mr. Charles, but now I have one, you know, and it's doing not so bad. And I want it to grow tall and strong and so forth because of the symbolic importance of it. So what's inside this particular plant?
The plant is, I understand now why the culture had that plant as a center of the civilization. On the psychedelic side, the plant has more than 4 different types of psychedelics.
Yes.
And now we know it, science would have called those same psychedelic compounds God molecules. That is what science now refers to those compounds. And those are the compounds that the shaman would have used to communicate and see what is needed to be done so that the culture will follow those principles.
Okay.
And on the other issue, the plant has a lot of phytochemicals that heals practically almost all complaint today. If you look at those phytochemicals, those are the same phytochemicals that the pharmaceutical company use independently to treat multiple ailments that we now suffer. So the plant is very potent in a lot of those compounds, and it was used by them.
So on one hand, it has in a substance that we call a psychedelic.
Yeah.
And everybody should know that these psychedelics have been known to assist in things like depression and things like that of that nature. But I have to go along. But it also gets you high. Is this something, when people hear that, obviously there will be some concern that, you don't allow kids near to cohoba, don't allow, question, were the British justified in the 1600 of chopping down all the cohoba trees because the Kalinago used it in their various functions? What would you say?
There was fear for, that's the matter of fact, that's the only plant they didn't use to create an industry because of the fear of the plant and what they experienced how the Carib use the plant.
Yeah.
They used tobacco and they created an industry with tobacco.
Yeah.
And many other plants, natural, local plants, they
Yeah.
created industry out of. But the cohoba, they decided, because that was the plant that the indigenous culture used to communicate with God, they decided that they had to get rid of it. So it was more of a religious aspect, in getting rid of the plant and the fear of the plant.
Yes.
And we lost the culture in our collective memory for all those centuries, basically. So, but in terms of medicine, that was the chief medicinal plant.
Yes.
And
you have any idea what it might have been used for from a medicinal point of view?
The historical texts would have said that the shaman, and that is where they would practically laugh at the shaman, where if you have a particular ailment, regardless of what ailment you have, and you go to the shaman would use the cohoba, and the cohoba would enlighten him as to what other herb they need to mix with the cohoba to give to you as medicine for you to become healed. And so they mix based on whatever complaint, they mix a different particular herb with the cohoba and they give it to you. Somebody else come with a different complaint, they may mix a different plant with the cohoba and give it to you. And that was the traditional use of the cohoba. It was also used, in the historical text you mentioned, they use as an enema as well. And they use it in their daily life. If you look at the historical texts on Grenada, the French historical text, the Anonymous History of Grenada, they will mention that the Caribs was able to run so fast that they run faster than bullet. And if we look at one of the compounds in the cohoba, we could say as to why they was able to run so fast. Because of that daily use of the cohoba, and I guess those compounds, the body able to utilize those compounds in an efficient way. They was able to run as fast as they was able to run.
Well, let's look what Google said. You know what I mean? Obviously, we listen to it. It says, divination of spirits, that the shaman or the doctor basically use cohoba to enter trances, communicate with spirits, and diagnose the spiritual causes of illnesses. However, in addition, it was used for purification and cleansing. It was used to purge the body of toxins or negative spiritual energy. Obviously, when one goes through history, that's when people are under stress, when people have a lot on their shoulders, they're depressed, they're anxious, and so what they talk about our spiritual energy. preventive medicine used to prevent fevers, and warn alert, this is interesting, used to provide humans with increased alertness and sharper village and greater energy. So you put it that they might move faster than a bullet, but
that's what the French would have said. I talked
Yes.
about the historical text that was written in the 16th century.
yes,
How they describe,
yes. So really, in those days, you wouldn't have had a pharmacy. You could go to and get a tablet and get a pill for certain things. And plants were relied on, a variety of them. And so the cohoba was one of them, used for a certain type of illness. And so let's get back. What's happening so that Grenada now has a lot of the cohoba and so on?
Well, I started the planting of the cohoba. Matter of fact, I'm the only person that cultivated the cohoba. But I think it's a great opportunity both for Grenada and St. Vincent
Yes.
to use cohoba as a chief agricultural plant.
Yes.
And because if we look at today, the whole world is practically have mental problems.
Yes.
And those are the compounds. I mean, we have a lot of research that shows that those compounds is what they now use for mental illness.
Yeah.
And I think we should jump on that. And,
I don't think people realize how prevalent it is. About 5% of the global population suffer from anxiety. But 4% suffer from depression. I mean, you're talking about 500 million people, So that's quite a lot.
And we now have the plan that could do some significant corrective
Yes.
corrective
Yes.
issues.
But getting back to what made the Caribs seem that much more healthy, it's a terminology, and you may disagree. There's something that's called the paleo diet. The paleo diet. A lot of people have been trying to resurrect the paleo, but it's, as you said, reduced salt, not a substantial amount of meat. You did eat meat, but another substantial amount of meat. But there's a lot of stuff in moderation, and there's a huge amount of vegetables and greens and so forth, the ones that we naturally have here in St. Vincent. But maybe they didn't have lettuce and cabbage and those sort of things. But
they use the leaves of the yam, they use the leaves of the cassava.
Yes.
The baji.
The baji.
So
yes.
The replacement of lettuce was those plants, basically.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So would you say that the Kalinago culture is something that we should emulate?
Definitely.
And we should try and find out a little bit more about. As diseases and high blood pressure, diabetes is becoming so rampant, and so it's amazing that they had the foresight of saying no salt, right? And in terms of certain foods, the discipline, turtle and certain type of things, they avoided those particular type of foods,
And they didn't need pork as well.
They need pork. Yes. Yeah. Well, can I tell you, Vincentians have a love affair with roast pork. Kamal, it's tell me you eat roast pork, right?
Really?
Everybody, I am not gonna lie. I
grew up not eating it. My daddy don't.
Yes. I eat roast pork. I do eat it. Maybe we'll find out that I shouldn't have, but I wanted to be honest. Let me set up in front of the class. I eat roast pork. I don't know who else does it. So we're not criticizing, but pork has in truth been something, even in the Bible, they talk about it being unclean and so forth, and many religions, Adventists, and so you won't get them eating pork. The Muslims ain't gonna eat pork. And so we understand that. Yeah, listen, we open the line 457-9997. Any calls with WhatsApp? So we know we talk about anything, any topic, and so. But I just thought that it'll be rather interesting that we break from the formal core aspect of medicine to look at things in some sort of a broader way. Let me tell you, other fruits and foods and so. We touched on certain things in the Cocoba. What was so special about this period, and what other fruits and plants would you recommend that people we grow in our backyards and we keep and things like that?
Before we go to any other plants, we have to look at the soil. They develop a special soil to grow, and that soil was a continuous, sustainable soil that fertilized itself.
Really? Let's hear this. Yeah. What do you mean?
And we in South America, the researchers identified as terra preta.
Okay.
If we look at a core sample that was done by Peter Siegel in the same area in La Poterie, and which do have that type of soil, and we know from that core sample that the soil was actually created by human influence, and those soil retain the microbes that is important to sustain a healthy life. So that whole correlation with the soil, with the food they eat and how they prepare the food, that whole culture is what will have them healthy.
You hit a point there that some of the fruits and foods we eat today, they may look the same, Kamal, but they don't have the same amount of nutrients that they used to have, because the soil itself has become depleted of certain nutrients. So the plant may fruit, the plant may grow still in some way, but the fruit you're getting doesn't really have the same potency and ingredients in terms of all the things it's supposed to have, and you can't get the benefit. So
let us look at cocoa, for example. Cocoa was an indigenous plant, right?
Yeah.
And matter of fact, in Grenada, we say cocoa, we look at our germplasm as Trinitadio, but there is a germplasm that originated from Grenada long before the Trinitadio germplasm. And today, we may face with problem with our cocoa as it relates to the fertilization with the NPKs, the phosphorus. Based on the ratio of fertilizer that you give the cocoa, then they develop that heavy metals in the cocoa, in our chocolate, that makes it now unhealthy, and that is how we think we're doing a good for the soil, but using those fertilizers help create problems that is passed on to the fruit. And when you consume the fruit, it's passed on to you, unlike the traditional method of fertilization, the way they create a special soil and grow the plants. So it will be totally healthy from the original microbes that is in our body, is in the fruit. But today we practically destroying the soil and destroying the true value of those fruits.
Okay. Let's take this call. Hello, good evening.
Hello? Dr. Thompson?
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes, you're on the program.
Repeat it again? Yes, right, all in the program. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, the Bible speaks about the salt in the soil, right? Like the fertilizers and so on, that show in the soil and so on. And that is what reduce all the nutrients and properties from some of the plants. Okay? However, my topic right now, Cocoba plant that you're talking about. Man, I'm willing to get that. Is it a tree?
Mr. Charles?
It's a tree or a plant? plant.
It's a tree, yeah.
There's a tree, right?
It starts as a plant and it grows into a tree. It grows into a tree. Yes.
Yes, very well. I would like to put my hand on some of those things, because I just do forward medicine, right? And with that, I believe that with other medicine, other plants and so on, I will be able to move mountains. Because you say that it is so spiritual. Right?
Yes, yes.
But since it's spiritual, those are the kind of things I'm looking for. You see, because it will have a lot of healing into it. You see, and that by itself might not cure certain sickness or disease, but that along with other ingredients from other plants and trees will be able to do it. So I would like to get that plan really. I would like you to establish it in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because I hate to talk about it in Grenada. And if you bring it to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I think we would appreciate it and we'd be glad to have it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right?
Interesting. Yes. Well, you
So,
know. Yes. Well,
yeah, well, Dr. Tapp, what's your name again?
Dr. Thompson.
Oh, boy,
Dr. Thompson. Thompson.
Yes, Thompson.
Yes.
Yes, Dr. Thompson. I nearly say I'm Gerald, man.
No, you are, you
Not
good.
Gerald, John.
Oh, you
Your
didn't say
father.
John, your father. All right.
Oh boy. Yeah, I missed that man anyhow. Anyhow,
Yeah.
yes, well, I'll get in touch with you because you are on the program.
Sure. Okay
Right?
then. Yes. Get back in touch with me.
Then I will call you and we'll talk more about the plant and so on. Okay?
Okay. Okay, absolutely.
Right.
Good.
Yes, okay.
Thank you very
Have
much.
a good night, man.
Tell me something. You said that it was almost extinct in Grenada and you found it here. Are there quite a lot of plants here in St. Vincent? When you found it, was it a rare find?
Yeah, it was a rare find.
Or you found that there are many more?
It was a rare find, but yeah, there is quite a number of trees.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a rare find. Matter of fact, Dr. Petitjean, a French archaeologist, one of our leading botanists, he would have been looking for that plant throughout. He would have done a lot of work in St. Vincent and in the region practically. And he was looking for the plant throughout the region. And no
Yes.
avail,
Eh,
Multiple researchers looking for the plant for a very long time. So this is what the French and the British did to the plant. They thought it was eradicated.
I want to shift a little bit.
Yeah.
There's another plant that I've grown to love. It's called the Zebra Peak.
Yeah.
Locally, we call it Albert Bitters. In
In Grenada, we call it zebra peak.
Zebra Peak. Well, in Jamaica they call it by another name. But really, what is this plant also about? This is a plant also used by the Caribs.
Yeah.
Prior to pharmacies being open, prior to people's pharmacies, prior to other pharmacies and so forth, downtown pharmacy and so forth. They go back 100 years ago. This was a plant that was used quite commonly for various illnesses. What do you know about it?
Well, the plant, which has, now we know that it has phytochemicals that actually fight and kill viruses. And if you look at the indigenous use, they would have used it for colds and same fever. And, fighting those same viruses that we now understand how well the plant work with, today.
Yes. Well, it's a plant. I mean, I got a couple of them.
Yeah.
Got them up in South Central Windward, way up in the forest and so forth. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And
if you look at the structure, it looks like a tobacco. The leaves
it
have a similarity.
looks, yes, yeah.
The flowers sort of similar as well.
Again,
Yeah.
used for fever, the common colds, cough, and this is where the leaves and so forth. What other plants and so forth would have been popular around for the Caribs and so.
Man Better Man.
Man Better Man.
Yeah, you know the Man Better Man?
Yes, yes. Well, the number of Man Better Man, one of them, they call it Devil's Horse Whip.
That's how you call it in St. Vincent?
Yes, yeah. Kamal, you've heard of that before? Tammy, you've heard of those sort of things before? Well, I tell you something.
That's too young.
I pulled some leaves from the Devil's Horse with the Man Better Man.
Yeah.
Now, the Man Better Man, don't get the impression that it is an aphrodisiac and so forth. You know it's an aphrodisiac? No. It's there again to help with colds and fatigue and so. You see, long ago, we didn't have all these highly processed foods. Diabetes and high blood pressure wasn't so rampant and things like that. The illnesses that you had, you step on a sharp stick that cut you. Something bruised your foot. You know, you sprain your ankle. You catch a cold. You eat something that upsets your stomach. You know, and how do you cool your stomach down? How do you ease those pains? That was the illnesses. If I was a doctor in those times, those are the type of things people would come in to say, boy, Doug, I eat something and it upset me something. What can I do about it? You know what I mean?
Then you tell them go and get some Malek stomach.
Right. Yes.
Malek stomach for bad stomach. They would use Malek stomach as well.
Yes. Let me tell you, lime. Was lime here in the region from the Caribs, or was it brought in?
No, it was brought in.
It brought in?
Yeah, from East Asia. So citrus basically was.
Yes, but I understand that there was still a lime, an older lime that was available. But there are some special limes you've been dealing with, bergamot and so forth. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, but fortunately, Grenada, I don't know why Grenada, bergamot is like a spice, so it's like a citrus spice.
Well, you do, from what I understand, you know, when a lot of the stuff was brought to St. Vincent and the botanical gardens couldn't hold, and so they sent a lot of the spices stuff down to Grenada, and Grenada became the repository of a lot of spices.
But if we look at the historical text as to the creation of the botanical garden here, I think Young and Anderson and them was the main focus was for the health benefit of their soldiers.
Yeah.
You know, Young wanted to ensure that his soldiers remain healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And hence they create the creation of the botanical garden here at St. Vincent. But fortunately, Grenada became the #1 spice producer, even though the botanical garden was practically like the propagation station. You know, we also had indigenous spice, but on top of, I think, the uniqueness and the microclimate in Grenada that presented that special environment for the growth of those spices, it really took off. But the bergamot as a citrus spice, you know, today the industry use it in the cologne industry, the perfumes. A lot of the oils is used in the perfume industry. But the rind of the plant is also used for a lot of the brain function. Same, you have a lot of various health benefits from the bergamot.
You mentioned something earlier, and I didn't want to pick it up. You tried to intimate that the Garifuna and the Kalinago were one of the same thing. Now, I didn't want you to go there because I think that would evoke a whole set of debate. I bring it up towards the end of the program because I don't really want, I didn't want it to mention earlier of like know that things would tangentially go in that direction. But the importance of Carib culture, Kalinago culture to our existence today. How do you see it? How can you frame that in words and so forth? I mean, you as the curator of a Kalinago village that dates back to the 16th century, what do you want it just to be a historical piece, or how do you want that to impact on Grenadian society? And if there are others in other islands, as in Dominica and here in St. Vincent, how would you want to see that impacting on
I think
the culture?
if we want, we need to parallel the Kalinago culture. If you look at the family structure, men cultured men. So our men was cultured by our fathers because they live, once you become a teenager, you live in a communal setting. The women culture the women. So just that alone would change our whole environment. And imagine the community of the Kalinago people, it was communal. So love was the center of that community.
Yeah.
There was nothing like greed, there was practically that harmonious culture. The architecture, if we look, when I constructed the wrong house, I left it so that when school children came, they could look at the architecture. And in physics, there is something that we call Pluto-solids. And Pluto-solids are the 5 solids that Pluto mentioned. The architecture contains all those features. And if you look at the historical texts, that both the British and the French would say after a hurricane, the savages had the houses, they had food, while they were starving and they endured total destruction. And as a result of the architecture by Kalinago people, they were able to withstand those hurricanes, even though they had a straw house. So, and those are the architecture and the design that we could now incorporate into our architecture. And when you have a hurricane today, we have total destruction.
Yeah.
We saw it in the Southern Grenadines, and but if we have something that we call it JEP, it's a wasp. And the design of the wasp house, that is practically the actual design that they use to design the houses, and that wasp house would withstand any sort of wind, that force. And so those are the things that we should now take back into our culture and help to develop the same lifestyle with food, basically. And the use of, we know now that those synthetic compounds that we create from the plant, we could now use it and get it from the plant in its natural state, which is much healthier and much better. With the soil, and we kill our soils as a relationship to the NPK that we use.
Yeah.
And so all those good benefits, the lifestyle of the Kalinago was extremely good, and we treated, yes, the European tried to destroy the culture and they give us their culture because it's all about creation of wealth, commerce for them. But whilst we live in a lifestyle that destroys our own health, and we became just numbers and replacing one another, and we just create wealth for them.
Yeah, we've spoken this evening, Cohoba, Zebra Peak.
Yeah.
We've touched on a few plants, Man Better Man, and things like that. People will know what Devil's Horsewhip really means, And we've talked about the Caribs being the inventor of barbecuing, right? And barbecuing everything. Here in St. Vincent, we barbecue pork, you know what I mean? But the Caribs didn't like pork. The great thing the Carib tells us that we should avoid salt and so on. There's some foods that the Caribs really eat, the cassava.
Yeah.
We don't eat a lot of cassava at all, do we? I mean, Kamal, do you eat a lot of cassava?
And not just eating cassava, they had a cassava wine, a beer. Matter of fact,
Right.
one of the pottery that I have rediscovered, we were able to identify the actual process from that pottery.
Yes.
How,
Let me tell you,
how the cassava beer
do they
was
make
made.
farine in
Yeah.
Grenada?
Uh-huh.
Tell me, you eat farine? Yeah?
Neither cassava,
Yeah.
none of the above, sorry.
Now, how do you make farine? Farine is made from what?
Well, from the cassava, and back
course.
then we have what we
So
call
you-
it
so
beta
coconut-
cassava.
BT, yes.
The
Yeah,
bitter
the
cassava,
bitter
is
cassava and the sweet.
They grate it and they would have it back then, and they would have that mesh that was designed from the wheat, which they used to make the baskets, and they would use like stone and wheat to press
Yes.
the poisonous, because the bitterness is poisonous.
It has a little bit of cyanide in it, yes. If you just
so
squeeze
they
it
get
out.
rid of that, and
Yeah.
then they would patch it
Yeah.
on that. Now we use what we call a copper or those
Yeah.
metal
Okay, yeah.
pans, but they would have used a flat clay pot
Yes.
that they would patch it on
To beat it and so
yeah.
on. Yes. Well, I think that there's a lot of special benefit in looking at our ancestors and some of the positive things that they did and to emulate it.
But look at now what science is doing with the cassava. They will take a special compound in the cassava to make plants drought resistant and use it in organic farming. So they
Yes.
use it as a side nutrient for plants so that plants will be able to withdraw or be the stress against drought.
Yes.
You know, so they make a lot of extract based on the old technology that
I-
the indigenous
I'll tell you, just getting back, as I said, I mentioned the ferrine. Why do you take what you are frosted flakes with what's the name, the tiger on the box? And all that sugar, do you know the amount of sugar that's involved in that? Refined sugar that's going to eventually throw your. I can't say specifically that the cassava is, but the cassava really is a nutrient dense, gluten free
Yeah.
tuber that's high in fibers and vitamin C, and it's supportive of digestive health. You don't get your upset stomach from eating cassava and so forth. But listen,
Yeah.
daughter, we've come to the end of the program. I want to thank you very much. I thought this would be a nice little interlude. You know, as you were here, we would say, you know, and I gotta make it. Come out. We gotta make it down to the La Poultry Kalinago village in Grenada. We gotta make it down there and really see what there is to display. I want to thank you very much. I want to say your last words. You just, good evening to everybody. And
Yeah, pleasant good afternoon to the whole listening public. And again, I want to thank you for inviting me onto the program. And it's always a pleasure being with Dr. Thompson and sharing. You know, Dr. Thompson is so involved in plants. It's amazing. You know, you remind me of Dr. Petitot, the French botanist. We go back in plants and, the importance of plants, and we need to continue preaching the importance of plants as it relates to our culture and a healthier lifestyle, basically.
Thank you very much. And well, I didn't talk about next, but you'll hear it in the week. I'll be talking a little bit about next week and big event next week. Good evening and good night.
People's Pharmacy, for all your pharmaceutical, skin and body care needs. Located on Grenville Street in Kingstown. They open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., Monday to Saturday.